News Now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nerd News Now, where we're going to really struggle through this show because there's not a lot of nerdy news. Kind of crazy.
No nerdy news. No news is that.
I've got topics.
Oh,
I have a topic too.
What do you got?
All right, we got chocolate cake or chocolate cheesecake,
okay.
falafel or kebab,
Ooh.
Emily or Emily, Lakers or wait, there's no other sports team to compare to them.
Celtics.
Just Lakers. Those are our 4 topics for today.
Okay.
The answer is chocolate pie.
Oh,
Chocolate
pie.
cream pie.
So wrong on both counts.
No, you can't be wrong in that question.
Falafel or kebab, it depends on who made it. I mean, I need more information to pick between falafel and kebab.
I need both of those is what I need, right?
Don Henley over Emily. I didn't hear who you were comparing Emily against. But
Emily
I thought
or
I heard Henley. So I'm going to go with Don Henley. And rather than the Lakers, Del Curry making that shot from half court the other night in a full suit.
You mean Steph Curry?
No. I mean Steph Curry's dad.
He made the shot from half court?
Yeah, he was on court, he was on the floor doing some interview, and some ball got away from it in warm-up, so he picks it up and he's standing like one step on the side, one step inbounds at half court, and he just chucks it up and drains it.
How did I miss that?
Yeah, in a full suit, by the way, like while wearing tweed.
Is Mark frozen or is he concentrating really hard to avoid these?
He's trying to find news. He took it as a challenge.
Oh.
Also, if you're asking me to pick tweeds, it's Tweety Bird over Tweed Coats or Shannon Tweed.
Wait, in this case, is Emily both Emily's, or is there another Emily?
I don't think that was one of the questions.
It's Emily or Emily.
Mm-hmm.
Emily the Criminal is the correct answer.
Oh,
I still
yeah.
haven't had a chance to watch that. How is that show?
So good.
I gotta put that.
I mean, it's good. It's Aubrey Plaza being weird, so. And chocolate cheesecake. And the Minneapolis Lakers over the LA Lakers, because that's when the name made sense.
Do you guys remember at the Cheesecake Factory, they had a thing called Factory Mud Pie? It's no longer in the movie.
I have never been to a Cheesecake Factory.
Oh, okay.
I don't like cheesecakes.
Is that like out of protest or what?
There's not one near enough to me to justify going.
Okay.
The closest one, if I'm going to drive to Cincinnati, there are like 95 better places to eat than Cheesecake Factory. You know, if I'm going to drive 3.5 hours, I'm not going to go to Cheesecake Factory. I'm going to go to, Montgomery Inn or, one of the other uniquely Cincinnati places.
Well,
there's no closer one.
So Kyle, the makeup of the Factory Mud Pie is one of those deadly rich chocolate cakes. You know what I'm talking about? Like the 4 layers tall, like the big thick icing, and then the icing that's big enough to we can use it as mortar for your house.
Mm-hmm.
And then a scoop of vanilla ice cream and a scoop of coffee ice cream. Sorry for anyone that doesn't like coffee ice cream. And then a tureen of hot fudge that you can pour on as much as you want. And then whipped cream and a cherry on top. You can no longer order it with the complete, it's not on the menu, but you can still order it. You can't get the coffee ice cream because they don't have it just sitting around. And you have to have somebody on staff that actually remembers what's in it.
So Miss Jen.
Yeah.
If we were to make that
Mm-hmm.
at Comics Pro, will you be joining us in feasting upon it?
Okay, so I have to keep my whatever complete, but I'm telling you, this is the truth. God's honest truth. I went and got my just regular yearly blood work done, just like make sure everything's still not falling off. And for a girl that has been sugar-free or as close as I can get to it for 4 or 5 years now, and you've witnessed me do that actively, I am pre-diabetic.
Oh my God.
As a not pre-current active diabetic, welcome to the club. We have cake. Because once you have it, you might as well just eat the cake.
Well, I mean, type 2 is preventable, so you can't.
Right. If you can avoid getting it, then do that.
I
Yeah.
would like to avoid it.
However, once you get it, like, you just got to know how much insulin to take for the amount of cake you're eating.
Mm.
So it isn't so bad. I will say, Brainy, though, that at Comics Pro, you're coming with me to the Ketchup Museum, right?
No.
Ketchup museum.
That's a big
So,
no.
no, the Heinz family donated a museum building.
Okay.
And it's a Smithsonian branch location of the Smithsonian University or the Smithsonian museums. So it constantly has rotating exhibits of things that are normally in DC. They don't actually have a museum to ketchup. I checked, but it's called the Heinz Museum. So if you think I'm not going to make ketchup jokes the whole time,
Well, you know, if they have the rats there too, then maybe we might do it.
possible.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't mind going to that museum.
Yeah, like it's just down the street from the Warhol Museum. So the idea is do one and then do the other.
I just don't know if we're going to have a lot of extra time. I mean, we could skip the pub crawl, which I'm fine with skipping because I'm only there as a designated walker because I don't drink. I pretty much go to Comics Pro now to make sure everyone gets to their room safely.
I think I'm gonna go out. Like I get off the air Tuesday night at 7, and I'm gonna get in the car and drive to Pittsburgh.
All right.
And then, huh?
Then you can make the pub crawl because it's on Wednesday.
Well, and then spend all day Wednesday doing museums and Thursday doing museums, and then the event starts Friday or whatever. So
one of the biggest challenges I had by deciding to go were flights in and out of Pittsburgh.
fly to Toledo and ride with me because I'm driving. It's only a 3-hour drive. And there are 4 sheets between here and there.
I just booked my flight this weekend, so I ain't changing it.
Oh,
At Brainy, planes don't actually come to Toledo anymore. We have an airport that nothing comes into.
Interesting.
Yeah, you got to fly to Detroit.
I think I may already be flying to Detroit.
All right.
I think that's my. Let me check.
is that your layover? Oh.
Let me check. I think it is.
Well, because I'd imagine nothing flies into Pittsburgh either. Everything is going to fly to one of the hubs and then fly to Pittsburgh.
Nope, I got a direct flight.
I'm going from Los Angeles to Detroit, then Detroit to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh to Detroit, Detroit to LA. And
Yeah, you're basically flying to my house and then flying to Pittsburgh.
You want to join us on the flight? You can.
No, I'm good. I'm going to have to drive for reasons.
Did you get banned from the airplanes again?
No. In fact, I just renewed my TSA pre-check. So no. But it's going to be cheaper than me freighting over the things I need to freight over.
Oh, you're bringing DJ equipment there too?
Well, I mean, we could.
Anyway. Mark, you're quiet. What's up?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll bite. I don't know if this is a pre-show meeting or what, but what's a Comics Pro? What is Comics Pro? What is this? And why was I not invited? The show just took a very industrial comics book industry inside turn. I have no idea what's going on right now.
All
What's
right,
a Comics Pro and why wasn't I invited?
Yes.
I think the audience is wondering that.
Justin, that's the title. Justin, that's the title.
I just know. What is that?
It is the professional comic books organization. That
Oh well, then I can't go. If it's professional, I'm out.
Yeah, it's it's got a pretty good membership. It is essentially exists for like bringing as a collective the concerns of retailers to publishers as one voice, which works much better than when you're all trying to like yell into the ether and never getting heard. So it actually works well.
But they decided in order to hear your voice, you have to go to Pittsburgh. That's kind of weird.
Well, okay, so it's the Comics Industry Trade Organization, right? Comics Pro is basically like if we had a union, that's what it would be.
Okay.
But it's a trade organization, and Pittsburgh is where they chose to have this year's meeting.
Yep.
I start talking to him about helping out and stuff, and it's always been someplace warm that I've never been.
No, it's always in Portland.
Right.
Warm that I've never been by comparison.
Okay, well maybe.
And then this year they're like, we're gonna do it in Pittsburgh, and I'm like, why?
It's like we're gonna have an argument about that when we're there. It's like, why Pittsburgh?
I could tell you why, but it's no consolation.
It's so we can go pick up our loads from Todd McDevitt. That's why.
They save money on condiments, on Heinz condiments. That's what it is. That's the secret.
It better be free Heinz for everything. Memphis is great.
Also, Kyle, isn't the barbecue season? Is this going to mess up your barbecue season? Or talking about barbecue season just starting?
Yeah, I had a competition this past weekend, and I actually have one the weekend before Comics Pro.
Oh, okay. But you don't have one in Pittsburgh. That's not the...
No.
You're not hauling barbecue equipment or DJ equipment.
Well, DJ equipment's not beyond the realm of possibility. Barbecue equipment ain't gonna happen. I mean, if for no other reason than Pittsburgh has Primanti Brothers, and we can just all go get sandwiches with French fries on them.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We want my barbecue.
Mm.
When are you getting in? This is becoming a Comics Pro meeting. When are you getting in, Kyle?
I don't know yet. I will know Wednesday exactly what my itinerary is.
Miss Jen?
But I'm seriously considering going for like a week. Going over, getting there Wednesday morning, and then not coming back here until the following Wednesday.
Our thought was the same as well. Get there early, leave late. But I kid you not, flights and hotels, it just did not work out.
Well, that's the benefit to driving.
True. And Mark,
the biggest question is when you get a sandwich with French fries in it, do you still order fries on the side? Because I've always wondered that, and I wouldn't want to embarrass myself.
Yes. You get chips.
But what kind? Because chips with sandwiches is always a dicey proposition.
They're like Ruffles potatoes?
No. It's got to be like a good kettle chip.
No. Clearly you don't understand Pittsburgh.
No, I don't, because no one's told me about Comics Pro, and I haven't been invited there. So why would I understand it?
Pittsburgh is a city that uses the word yins. So do you expect them to have a good kettle chip?
Like the Pittsburgh Penguins?
No.
Penguins?
Like instead of saying y'all, they say yins. They call themselves yinsers.
Man, I am so not going to fit in that place.
They like Ben Roethlisberger. Like, number of things that Pittsburgh doesn't make sense is. I will say this: it is a city that is on the rise in terms of doing stuff like this. People I know from the area say they're really developing a kind of like Nashville or Memphis kind of downtown strip where it's bars everywhere, different kinds of music and different scenes, as well as a lot of art. So it sounds like a fun place to visit.
All right. So Brainy, I'm going to be there at 11
on Wednesday
a.m. Yeah. I'm getting up to fly out of here at 7 a.m., which is going to mean I have to get up at like 4 a.m. So
the best flight I could find was leaving here at 5:30 a.m., arriving there at 5 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah, no, you could fly to Detroit. I could come get you, and we could drive there faster than that.
I paid way too much for these flights to let that go
Give 'em
now.
up.
I mean, I'm just saying. No, so the Comics Pro meeting is just a bunch of retailers getting together and having a chance to talk to publishers, having a chance to talk to
And it's not just retailers. It is publishers. It's more of it's a conglomerate of all aspects of except for consumers themselves. We've got creators, we've got publishers, we've got vendors, we've got retailers, and it's basically to brainstorm. It's to talk about the industry, see what's going on, what we can do to make it better, what we can do differently than what we've been doing, and things like that. It's compared to other industry events, this is more focused on trying to make the industry better.
And it's everyone's staying at the same exact hotel, so all the publishers are there. So even after hours, everyone's hanging out together. Honestly, there's a lot of stuff that gets done during the day when there's official meetings going on, but there's just as much going on at night when people feel a little more free to say really what's on their heart about stuff, when they're not, in front of a giant group. It's. I think there's been some really big changes and good changes that have come out of those meetings.
It's also where you get to see Brainy be irresponsible.
Was it regarding
at the auction?
And I think I'm also probably one of the few people that's still sober at that auction.
But you don't act sober, so it throws everyone off. They're like, I can't keep bidding against him. He'll just keep going.
Right. So I've never been to one in person. This will be my first in person. But I find it as a comic book professional way more useful than some of the other opportunities we have to get together. Only because at those other opportunities, if you want to talk to another retailer about what they're doing and what's successful, you got to do it like in between scheduled things. You got to do it, kind of on the fly, or conversely, like you have to do it after hours. Whereas there's specific times to sit down and talk to other people who are interested in selling manga more effectively or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I've hosted the past 2 years selling on social media panels to talk to people about how to sell on Facebook and YouTube and whatever. So it's much more of a conversation and a lot less sitting and listening to lectures than some of the other events I've been to.
And it's conversations with people who are actually passionate about what they're doing. I don't mean to make this sound negative, but it's not backpackers out there that are, selling to their friends and stuff. These are actual people who care about the industry. These are not saying that other people don't. Yeah, there are a lot of retailers that can't make it, a lot of publishers that can't make it to this event. But these guys have devoted their their livelihood depends on this industry. I mean, of course, they let people like Kyle and myself in, so I don't know how professional it really is, but
I will say this: in order for Kyle to be allowed in, Kyle has to bring a skill or usefulness to the table. So I had to invent one,
which is basically how to barbecue a comic book. Or
speaking of barbecue, do you guys want to see what I cooked at the competition?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we answer your question, Mark?
Yum.
Those are the wings.
Honey glazed?
Man, this looks
No.
good. It's like a perfect
Those are the
glaze on
wings.
that.
Right.
Those are beautiful.
And they both look Photoshopped, man. Why'd you do that?
They're not Photoshopped. That's just how they look. I'm also very good at taking pictures of food. Though neither of those are good enough to win. But ironically, I came away the big winner of the weekend. Did my internet just cut out?
Nope.
Nope.
You're still good.
All right, I'm back. I came away the big winner of the weekend because I won the most pretentious and specific grill ever.
Which is?
It's called the PK Go with what they call it, a flip kit. So it's a grill that is specifically made for cooking incredibly high-end steak for competition purposes, and it has a special grate in it that puts the perfect grill marks in it every time. Regardless of how you set the meat on it, it does the grill marks for you. And then a flip kit, so you don't actually have to turn your steaks. You just flip the whole surface. It's like a $400 grill that'll cook 2 steaks.
Perfect.
It's made out of cast aluminum and weighs 60 pounds.
Oh,
They
so,
go,
so that's
"Kyle,
what you're bringing to Pittsburgh.
They go, Kyle, you won the PK, and I went over and lifted it up and like was shocked. Like I almost couldn't lift it because I thought it was lighter and I wasn't prepared. So there was one actual piece of nerdy news that we could talk about.
Let's do it.
The Razzie Award nominations came out.
Finally.
Yes. I know Mark was waiting patiently for these nominations because this is the kind of stuff Mark and I can get into. So here are the nominees for the award ceremony happening March 11th. For Worst Picture, Blonde, Disney's Pinocchio, Good Morning, that's Mourning, The King's Daughter, and Morbius.
Blonde is a Marilyn Monroe movie, right?
Yes.
Netflix? Okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
Worst actor nominations are Colson Barker, aka Machine Gun Kelly, for Good Morning, Pete Davidson for being the voice of Marmaduke, Tom Hanks as Geppetto in Disney's Pinocchio, Jared Leto in Morbius, and Sylvester Stallone and I don't know how to say that word. Samaritan?
Samaritan.
Yeah, Samaritan.
Samaritan. The good Samaritan.
I'm looking. I've never the way it's written here, like it doesn't look like that to me.
Doesn't look like it. Yeah.
Right. It looked like I know what the logo is, and I go, "Oh, that's Samaritan." But because this is just in some random font, it doesn't work for me. Okay. So worst actress is Ryan Kira Armstrong for Firestarter, Bryce Dallas Howard for Jurassic Park Dominion, Diane Keaton for Mac and Rita,
Oh no.
Kira Scodelario for The King's Daughter, and Alicia Silverstone for The Requiem.
Kaya, right?
Yes.
Dude.
Worst remake, ripoff, sequel, Blonde, both 365 Days sequels, Disney's Pinocchio, Firestarter, or Jurassic World Dominion. I could keep going through these, but what's interesting, worst on-screen couple. This is a great one. Colson Barker, aka Machine Gun Kelly, and Maud Sun for Good Morning. Both real life, huh?
It's Baker,
whatever. Machine Gun Kelly, Mrs. Megan Fox,
Mrs. Megan Fox.
Yes, both real life characters in the fallacious White House bedroom scene in Blonde. Tom Hanks and his latex-laden face in Elvis. Andrew Dominic and his issues with women in Blonde, and also the two 365 Days sequel.
So what is that? What is the 365 days?
You remember 365 Days Later?
No.
It was a parody, like ripoff of 28 Days Later.
Oh, okay.
And then in 1 year, they made 2 sequels.
My oh my.
Yeah, they're camp fun horror garbage. Okay, worst director: Judd Apatow for The Bubble, Machine Gun Kelly and Maud Sun for Good Morning, Andrew Dominic for Blonde, Daniel Espinosa for Morbius, and Robert Zemeckis for Pinocchio.
Man,
Blonde got 8 nominations. Good Morning got 7. Pinocchio got 6. Morbius got 5. and The King's Daughter got 3.
Yeah, they ripped on Blonde and Pinocchio this year.
And Morbius.
I expected movies that were trying for, Oscars to not be so smacked down. Holy cow.
It's true.
Did anyone watch any of those films?
Morbius.
Yeah, I saw Morbius. I saw Blonde.
I haven't watched Blonde yet.
I saw some of the things that were nominated for like one. But like I didn't see any other ones. Like Jurassic Park Dominion getting nominated for a bunch of those. That was not something I was expecting.
That wasn't that bad of a movie. It wasn't great, but it wasn't.
Well, so the thing about the Razzies, and Mark, I'm sure you can help me with this if I'm wrong, is that they're movies they expect to be good that aren't. Right? You have to be at a certain level to be nominated for a Razzie. If I go make a movie, even if it's a full-length movie, I'm not going to get nominated for a Razzie because I'm not at that level where they expect better. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Yes, that sounds right. Because like we know who these people are that got nominated.
Right.
Like most of them, we know like 80% of them. Also, the 365-day trilogy is not what you said it was.
Oh, it's not. Well, there you go.
No, we could only wish that it actually was.
What is it?
What is it?
So it started in 2020, and now there's like 365 a day and 365 like days later or whatever. But the 2021 was a 2020 Polish erotic thriller film directed by Barbara Bilewaj and Tomasz Mendes, based on the first novel of a trilogy by Blanka Lipinska. The plot follows a young Warsaw woman played by Anna Maria Sekula in a spiritless relationship falling for a dominant Sicilian man who imprisons and imposes on her a period of 365 days for which to fall in love with him. And then they made 2 more.
So it's like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah, sure. Yikes. That's a yikes.
Don't you wish you would have just let me be wrong and not told everybody, not known the truth?
I really do. So those are on Netflix. So
this is the problem with needing to be right. Could have just let me be wrong. We could have all been happier with our lives.
But wait, once you get to the next 365 days, then it turns into a love triangle between her and 2 rival mobsters. So there you go. Awful. But yes, and I would say what Kyle said is correct, but also they can just have movies that are awful.
I mean, there's some movies that were awful, and then time was kind to them, and now we're obsessed with.
I do want to point out that I was not nominated for any Razzies, so I am still a decent actor.
Producer Jay says the Fast and the Furious 9.
Still? Wasn't that like 10 years ago?
Right, aren't they in the Fast and the Furious like 37 at this point?
Right.
I still love them. I'm sorry. It made so much money. But I somehow cannot forgive Charlize for her bowl cut.
Not. I watched the second one, Too Fast, Too Furious, and when the third one wasn't called like 3 Fast, 3 Furious, or like I said, I'm done. Yeah. So also when I found out it had way less Eva Mendes in it, also I was done. So, no, I got my ballot for the Independent Spirit Awards.
Nice.
And my screeners are starting to come in for that, for the few things I need screeners for.
How did you get into doing this thing? That's what I want to know.
You used to could pay. Back when I was in college, it was like $125 a year. And the money went to like Searchlight or Focus to put towards funding films. And as a result, you got to be a voter for the Independent Spirit Awards. And, they would send you screeners or digital copies of films, and then you could vote for them. It's like the Oscars for people who made money, but movies with no money.
Mm-hmm.
Which I liked. So I've been doing that now for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years.
That sounds, it just sounds like a lot of fun to me.
Yeah, but like it's also super serious. Because these people worked really hard on these movies and that kind of stuff. And sometimes you see stuff that's just real bad. Or you see a movie that you're like, there's a reason I didn't go to the theater to see this. It 100% is not for me, but you have to watch it, so it feels kind of gross.
I guess that what movies are screening right now that are like, is there a fancy thing that's going on? Someone posted up that they had walked out of some maybe Sundance.
Oh, I don't know. There is some news out of Sundance in terms of Netflix just did a $20 million deal for the movie that's kind of taking Sundance by storm.
Okay.
And I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Hollywood Reporter will know.
Fair Play.
Yes. That sounds like it's going to be a big deal. So
I'm surprised that I know that there's other things that go into distributing a movie other than that initial 20 million, but I'm surprised it's not more, just given how much streaming services are seemingly having to throw into movies nowadays, just like producing their own, making their own. So when you have one that's getting a lot of buzz, you would think it would be just going to the highest bidder, and then that bid would get out of control. But I don't really know what's happening with the movie buying market right now. So
yeah, I don't know either. I don't see any upcoming events necessarily that are like, see all the Oscar movies.
Cinemark usually does it.
Well, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the Fathom events.
But they usually wait. So the nominations are tomorrow morning, right?
Right. So they may not put it out, but they are showing the 5th Left Behind movie.
Okay.
If you guys remember those terrible books.
Those books were not terrible.
They were super terrible. Well, okay, they were better than the movie, but the movies were real bad. But I also can't go see these movies anymore because I have a blood feud with the main actor.
Blood feud. Who's the main actor now?
Kevin Sorbo.
Oh, Sorbo. Okay. Because I was going to say it was Casper Van Dien. Don't be mad at him. He's cool dude.
Nope. I like everybody else in those movies except for friggin' Kevin Sorbo, and now I won't go see it.
Well, suck it, all the rest of you people that worked hard on that film.
Doesn't matter. The first time Kevin Sorbo tried to get me banned from a Comic-Con was the last time I ever agreed to be in the same room with anything Kevin Sorbo.
I got to hear this story now. You can't just drop that and then maybe not tell us the story.
Yeah, I need
right.
pointers so we can figure out how to ban Kyle from Comic-Con. Wait, hold on. Let me take my notes.
No, so my friend, it was a producer on Hercules. He's one of my mentors, was a producer on Hercules. He's actually currently married to Lucy Lawless. Anyhow, I knew Kevin just a little bit through him. And Kevin starts tweeting one day about God is not dead too. Now, as a person who is a Christian, I should want that movie to be successful. I should want those movies to be successful. The first one made me so angry, I started tweeting back at him. God's Not Dead 2, Enter the Thunderdome, where Kevin reprises his role as Hercules, featuring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Satan. Loser has to admit they're bad for Christianity. And he did not take that well.
Yeah, you kind of took a dig at his religious beliefs.
They're my religious beliefs.
Yeah, but they might be his as well.
No, they are his as well, and that's the point.
You took a dig at that. That's
sure, but it would have gone away, except that Rob Tapper is a what we politely call a shit stirrer. He brought it up when we were all together that I made these tweets, and Kevin gets real angry and tries to have me banned from Comic-Con. And Lucy turns to him and just goes, "Sit down and shut up. He's not leaving." And that was the end of the story. But every time I've seen him since then, he said something to me or been really mean to me. And it's been like 15 years.
A simple apology could fix all of that.
Nope. Blood feud.
Well, he doesn't want to apologize to Kyle, so he's probably not going to.
I also have a blood feud with Kid Rock, but that's over something way more petty. So,
did he steal your gumballs?
No. Although that would be a better story. Yeah.
Do we cover anything in the last 36 minutes?
Yeah, we covered that.
The
If I
Razzies.
ever finally get to go to Primanti Brothers, don't order another side of fries. Although they have plenty of sides of fries where you can add cheese and chili to it. And to me, in that case, fries are just a vessel, so they're not really fries.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that. Cheese fries pretty good. But I always get the chips.
But their sandwiches by default have fries and coleslaw on them, so you wouldn't really want to order either of those. Which begs the question, how can a place that successful not have onion rings as an option for a side?
Because the onions may be too healthy for them?
Maybe.
Yeah, Primanti Brothers is the best. In fact, it's the only thing that I could tell you where it's at in Pittsburgh without having to GPS it a little. I know where the one nearest to where Comics Pro is going to be is.
Guess that's where we're hanging out, right?
So back to Comics Pro. So this is all for retailers, so distributors aren't there. Like no DC, no Marvel, no Image, no big guys.
They're all there.
Yes, they're all there.
Well,
but you have to wait till there's like a pub crawl so you can talk about them without them. So it's not as weird.
No, they're on the pub crawl too.
Oh, okay. But that's where you have your airing of grievances, and then everyone forgets and everything's good the next day.
There is a fest.
I feel like there's got to be an airing of grievances in there somewhere.
Yeah, this time everybody will be joining and saying, "Why the heck are we in Pittsburgh?"
Oh yeah.
Do you need bags or just the boards?
Yep. No. Yeah, we'll be at Primanti Brothers.
This is more than just retailers or publishers yelling at each other. It's more like, hey, let's have a discussion. Let's figure out what we can do to solve the problems we're having, as opposed to. Well, okay, I can't really say that because we've had some retailers just lose their ish. But it is more of a gathering of the distributors, the publishers, and retailers coming together to find a common ground.
It's way more kumbaya than other meetings in which it is a yell fest.
Yep.
Well, which one is the only other one that I know is sort of like a con but not a con, or that I've heard of is Staples. So what's Staples?
I believe they are an office supply emporium.
Correct.
I thought it was a convention. That's not a convention for real.
There was a convention center called Staples.
Right, the Staples Center.
No, Staple or something.
Yeah,
there's always Retailer Summit.
The biggest difference between the Retailer Summit and Comics Pro is the way it's organized. the retailer summit is, for us at least, it feels like, hey, publishers, give us your pitch, we'll hear you, and that's that. Wherein Comics Pro is like, hey, publishers, let's sit down and chat and see what we can come up with.
Yeah, I would say Comics Pro is a lot of reading solicitation.
You mean the summit?
Staple
Yeah.
Independent Media Expo in Austin.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
Well,
There's
it's
no
in
Permanente brothers there, so we don't care.
Correct.
and it's in Austin.
And it
that's
hasn't
awesome.
happened since 2019.
Oh, we'll probably.
But no, yeah, Retailer Summit is a lot of them standing there reading to you things out of books you could read yourself. Whereas Comics Pro is a lot more, okay, this is for real. This is what we're doing. And these are who we're talking to. And this is who you can talk to and what you can do.
And
Like-
So just lots of Q&As. I mean, like tons of them, or like all Q&As, or
And round tables.
roundtables. I can tell you only because this is going to go out after. I think it's going to be public. It'll be a little different this year, and it's going to be very exciting for the retailers and for everyone to like. It's going to be a little looser.
Thank goodness.
they don't have enough drinks for that.
It's Pittsburgh. They do.
I actually, I still don't know if it's going to happen. Everyone said, yeah, let's do it. But now I don't know. It's like one of those, where are we going to fit it?
You should still do it.
I know. I said, I just want to have something that is fun. That's just fun. I wanted to do, and a little bit competitive, because, we're all competitive people, retailers. I suggested the Comics Pro first annual comic shop Olympics, in which we would have
Flonkerton.
What?
Mark got it. It's from The Office. It's one of the games in The Office Olympics. It's you stand on paper boxes and you put your feet through little straps on the paper boxes and you have to walk.
It's like that, but related to comic book industry. Like I think they decided they wanted to have the long box speed build be blindfolded, which is interesting.
Doable.
We'll do a speed 100 bags and boards, because that's something people are very proud about, whether they can do them quickly. A speed sort of A to Z for long box. I don't know how we're going to decide whether they were equally messed up beforehand or not, but who cares? Basically build a pallet where you take it's going to be like 12 long boxes and move them from one side of the room to the other and restack them. That's for strong muscle, whatever. And then I'm definitely going to have I know it's not very Olympic, but it'll be Olympics for your brain. I really want to do a trivia thing, and I think people are going to think it's going to be like, what's the first appearance of Spider-Man? No. I'm going to literally have questions like, where does Alex Cox work? Which company? Because many of the people in our industry have played shuffleboard with who they're working with this year. So it's almost impossible to know who's working where.
The answer is Image, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You just gave away the answer to the.
Because in my brain it's either Image or it's Reed Pop, and I'm like, I think it's Alex Ray at Reed Pop. And it just, okay. I'm good. We're back. I'm back. I'm good.
You should do it during the hour before the auction, because people are drunk enough but not drunk enough.
Oh, that's
Okay,
right,
so
there
what's
is
this?
one.
So what's the auction about? Because is there any kind of collectibles component to this convention that's not for people that go to conventions like me? So what's this auction? What's going on there?
So for the past X many years, it was to benefit the CBLDF, which is the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. They switched on over to Bink, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago, because Bink is doing just as much as CBLDF to help the comic book industry, and they're growing to assist with that. We basically have an auction where retailers, publishers, and whatnot, whoever's attending, kind of brings their most prized possession that they're willing to part with at least. They donate to the auction and everybody bids on it. And, I think the last few times they've raised to 25-ish on average in the last 3-4 years. So that's 25K basically on average.
Brainy and I go with a number in our heads that we want to donate. So we're like stupid people. We're just trying to bid on everything, trying to get to the amount of money we want to donate. And people, I don't know if people think we're super competitive or not. We're just like, we just got to find the right amount of money to spend on stuff that makes sense for us.
Correct. And it's all going to charity. If it was something, and I can tell you this much, I've spent 10, 20, 30 times more than what an item's really worth. Just
Except for when you won that Spawn cover.
Yeah, I was willing to go higher too. I think that might have been my most expensive purchase as well. Like $3,000 or $4,000 that I paid for it. But how often do you? What was that?
I was so surprised that people back down from that one because that's not going to ever happen again.
Yeah, you don't see Spawn original covers going at all ever. Most of the artists either hold on to them or have already, given them away or whatnot.
I think that was donated by Todd. Yeah.
No, that was donated by Mr. Haverland.
Oh, by Haverland, that's right.
Yes. And he will be there this weekend, I believe. A lot of people forget he worked on Spawn a lot. He's done a lot of work on Spawn.
In an update to an earlier topic,
Ooh.
the menu at Permancy Brothers is not standardized. Some of them do have onion rings.
Oh, okay.
Some others have pizza.
That's weird.
I think they're regionalized. Just wanted to give that update. I did some
like when you go to France and there's a Royale with cheese.
Correct.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody who came from India and they were telling me about McDonald's there. And I'm like, look, if I go to India and I want to go to McDonald's, I want to go to McDonald's to have a hamburger, not Indian version of hamburgers. It's like, if I'm going to India, I'm not going there to go to McDonald's. I'm going there to enjoy the local delicacies. But if I'm going to walk into a McDonald's there, it better be a hamburger that I'm having.
It's true. Should we talk about new books?
If you don't want to talk about the fact that I just watched 2 episodes of the new Night Court for you so that we can talk about it, then we can talk about comics.
We can talk about Night Court.
We got to circumvent all things for Night Court. Go.
Yeah.
So I've watched the first 2 episodes a total of 3 times each.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I've dissected this show at a level that is unhealthy for humans.
Kyle, a lot of things you do are unhealthy for humans.
Almost everything I do is unhealthy for humans, Brainy. That's why I do it, so others don't have to.
So have you applied for a panel at San Diego Comic-Con where you could talk about those first 2 episodes?
No.
Okay.
Because I have some thoughts.
All right.
Uh-oh.
It's really weird hearing Melissa Rauch's real voice.
That's weird. Yeah, I'll agree.
You're so used to her as Bernadette with the super high squeaky voice that when her real voice here comes out, goes.
And there are times where she slips into it. You can tell it's like, oh, there's Bernadette.
Right. Like my parents watched it without me and they're like, is that Bernadette from the Big Bang Theory? And my mom's like, no, I don't think it is. So I think that it has a lot of the DNA that made the original show so successful and so well loved. I think it has some things it needs to figure out in a big way. Not the least of which is how to get John Larroquette to stop eating the scenery. John Larroquette's overacting is a big problem on the show. And I love John Larroquette, but it's a little much. So there's that. I think the girl who plays Gert is very funny. Lacretta.
Yes.
Maybe the funniest person on the show. Which is true of Martin or Richard Mull too on the original.
Right.
I think everybody else is just kind of there. Like it's not It isn't like before where you had 5 distinct characters. It's like one distinct character, one character and everybody else just kind of exists. So it needs to figure that out. I think it'll be successful only because people want something like that in their lives right now. So much of network TV is high drama. You think about it, like Yellowstone is the most popular show on television. Emily in Paris is the most popular show on this show. But both of them are dramas. People want the comedy, they want the laughs, and this show will deliver on easy ones. So people won't feel like they have to think about it too much. One of the jokes that sits so strongly with me from the first episode is that somebody defaced the board with everybody's names on it. They moved the letters around.
Mm-hmm.
And that the name that they chose to bring out was Hugh Janus. Like, just simple jokes. They're not going to make you think too hard. Yep. Just boom. And then they cut to it, and there's one that's Gil T. Azell. Giltazell. So if you say it real fast, it's guilty as L.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's
a little thing.
Right. They're not going to make you think too hard. They're just going to make their jokes, and they're going to move on.
Right.
So we'll see. The other joke that sticks out to me is in the second episode, Abby's trying to get people to make changes in the courtroom and in the the area, and they decide to have a mural painted of the Supreme Court justices, because the handyman at the courthouse almost had a painting in the Getty Museum. Mm-hmm. Turns out it was in the Estelle Getty Museum.
Yeah, it was a wonderful shot at the end of that episode.
Right, it's. All the Supreme Court justices have Estelle Getty's head, and they're all wearing baseball gloves because he doesn't do hands. Like, such simple, basic jokes.
We might want to go back and put in spoiler alerts before the.
It's true.
All right, Mark, I gotta hear your feedback.
Mark.
Well, it just seems that like they're stuck trying to be the original one to the point where their jokes have punchlines from the 80s, and I'm almost wondering like if they aren't just using leftover jokes, or if they hired a staff writer that was from the 80s and he's like, oh, I got one, because like they're not using current pop culture references. They're using pop culture references from the 80s when they choose to do this type of jokes. And so I'm wondering like what that's about. And they're trying so hard to be the original that I don't know where this one can possibly go. Because it's basically just go ahead.
I was going to say it could be an attempt for them to try to tie the two shows together. Maybe have the first 2 or 3 episodes basically, try to be what they were in the past and then move on from there. Possibly, we'll see.
Right.
Yeah, I think 2 things to that, Mark, and I think it's important. The show is run by Melissa Rauch's husband, but there are some of the original writers back.
Okay.
And I think the intent is what Brainy said, is to try and tie the 2 shows together. That's why there's so many Harry Stone references in the first 2 episodes. Like, there's just tons and tons and tons of them. So trying to, hey, it's not a remake, it's not a reboot, it's an extension. So I think they're having to lay that groundwork, and then they'll be able to grow on themselves. Kind of in the same way that if you look at Parks and Rec, the first several episodes just felt like they changed the names of Office characters.
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like.
So, and then it took, once they had established kind of what it was, it went its own direction. So I think that's where it's going. I think the other thing they need to do, though, is get Marsha Warfield on the show.
Yes.
She said
because she sent a video from her Instagram. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
she's and she was like in between sets at a stand-up comedy club. So she's still active. Like there's no excuse not to have her on there.
Well, even if I know she doesn't travel much.
Okay.
Even if she comes out and does like, oh, she's a criminal. Right? She knocked somebody out, at a comedy club because Roz is doing comedy now. And she just comes in and goes, I used to work here. and just leaves.
Yeah, anything.
And before something, God forbid, happens, because it's coming sooner rather than later, getting Richard Mull back on. He can't really walk anymore, so figure out a way to get him on, but have him on. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Additional thoughts, Mark?
No, I mean I'm waiting to see where it goes, because all the most recent NBC sitcoms that I stuck with, I did not think they were going to survive the first season. Parks and Rec being one, and then 30 Rock being the other. And they turned out to be the best two sitcoms they've had. Now, granted, I didn't stick with Superstore, and I have a lot of people that keep telling me, "Oh, it got really good." I'm like, okay, but
I've tried with Superstore.
Yeah,
I think because I worked for Sears, I get too triggered.
that could be it.
YouTube made a lot of good points about the show. One thing I think there is a slight bit of a problem with the chemistry in the show, and that might get developed in future episodes. But I think it's still lacking the chemistry the original show had. And that, again, it could be because they are trying to tie the two shows together, or trying to make it stand apart from what the original one was as well. So we'll see.
Well, and I'll say this, Brainy, I think the original show had good chemistry season 1, had good chemistry season 2, but the real chemistry didn't hit until season 3 when Marky Post showed up.
Yeah, true.
Keeping in mind that the first season, the public defender was played by the woman who left the show to go on tour with Meatloaf. She was the woman who sang Paradise by the Dashboard Lights with him. Like, she knew him from Broadway and that kind of stuff before he was Meatloaf. She was on the record. Record gets huge. She gets Night Court. She does a season, then leaves to go back on the road with Meatloaf. So
that was the right move for her at that time.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things, is that show took a minute.
Yep.
So it was the highest viewed sitcom launch on NBC in 5 years.
Wow. So isn't it actually on NBC or just Peacock?
It's on NBC.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense, because the show kind of brings back the old audience. Everybody, like we were more excited to see how it relates to the past, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's doing as well as it is.
Yeah, I'm in a weird spot TV wise, right? Like, I finished everything except for Doctor Who, but I need something, so I find myself looking for sitcoms. And like, I tried Bob Hart's Abishola. That didn't work for me, even though Billy Gardell's very funny in it. I started watching Abbott Elementary yesterday. That's not bad.
Yep.
But like, we're facing a real desert of sitcoms right now.
You want to watch something? There's a movie on Netflix, a documentary. I believe it's called Pez Outlaw or Not. It's basically about the guy who started selling Pez in the United States. You gotta watch it. It's a pretty interesting documentary, and you'll laugh about it. You'll be like, "Yeah, this kind of sounds like something we would do in our industry."
It's true, but no, like I said, my whole thing is like, I just need a sitcom, and everything was so dominated by the Chuck Lorre sitcoms for so long, that other people stopped trying. So, we'll see.
Cool.
We ran out of time for new comics.
Okay.
Because like, Miss Jen's got to get out of that room so that Jenna can get ready for her show.
We'll go real fast. Let's each say 2 books that we say what people to look at. I'll do my 2 that I interviewed today. DuckTales, Dynamite.
No, wait. Darkwing Duck.
No, Darkwing Duck. Sorry. Darkwing Duck. My brain stopped. And Bro D, Can't Be Broken, from a new company, Band of Bards.
I will say 007 number 6 from Dynamite, Philip Kennedy Johnson's 007. It's the end of maybe the greatest James Bond story I've ever read.
Ooh.
And then in terms of a number 1, confirm it for me, guys, if it's coming out. Bulls of Beacon Hill number 1. Steve Orlando from Aftershock.
I can find out. It's going to be here at the bottom of the list.
Shoot, let me look at my list. Of course, I haven't uploaded my list yet, so sorry.
And if not that one, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin, The Lost Years, #1.
I don't think that's out yet.
It's supposed to be out tomorrow or Wednesday. I got a cop to it though. I fell into the same thing I fall into every time with these stupid books, and ordered a number of variants that I'm now questioning the ethics of. Like so many variants.
We've had discussions about variants before. Or the abundance of them.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I'm questioning the ethics of, but not the amount of money I spent. So
Agreed, my man. Agreed. There are times when, we've talked about this many times, where variant covers take into the money you would have spent on independent books. Hey, I like this cover of Batman. Batman's my favorite. Yeah, I'll pick up a second copy of this cover, and I'll skip Darkwing Duck. It's an unfortunate, but it is part of. Sorry. It is an unfortunate part of how what's happening nowadays.
Well, I will say this. I didn't cut anything to order these variants, but I may be on the hook for 75 copies of this book to get all the variants I want.
You're crazy. The fact that you have to order 75 copies of a book.
Well, no, I told my LCS I will pay for whatever the difference between your normal number and the number you have to order to get me the variants I want.
The 1 in 100s or 1 in 200s.
Yeah. So like he'll try and sell them for a month and then be like, okay, here's what's left. And I'll be like, okay, no problem.
So back in the we didn't have time for this, but back in the days, I used to go to this comic shop, and they would have these pop out comic books where they would take several covers, and they had some creative people working there, and they would cut up the pieces and make the superheroes, make them look like 3D-ish. And my brother and I loved that. We were doing that ourselves, where we would take where we had multiple copies of comic books and trading cards. We would cut them up and make them look like a 3D box of them. You should try that, Kyle, with all these extra books that you're buying.
Oh, no, what's great is that I'll just wait. And I've sold, when I've done this, I've sold copies back to Kevin Eastman for convention appearances. I've done, retailer friends who need 5 copies. Here you go, I have a long box somewhere of TMNT 100s because I bought as many of them as I needed from here. And then one day Miss Jen's like, I have 9 of these. I'm like, well, I'll just take them. So I have a long box somewhere of TMNT 100s, including all the variants. So, all right. Mark, you want to say the thing?
You can do the thing if you got it.
All right. One of these days you're going to be like, yes, and I'm going to start talking because you've psyched me out. The thing when people say, when kids are saying no and you're saying yes, and then you say no and they say yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching Nerd News Now, part of the Kingdom of Geekdom on Woodlands Online, sponsored by the Adventure Begins Comics and Games and Space Cadets Collection. If they knew how much we talked about food, they might not sponsor the show anymore. Check out other shows on Woodlands Online, like Weekly Fallout Sports Talk, The Adventure Begins Show, 4 Reels, The Best You, Between the Trees Business Talk, and much more. We should get a food sponsor in there, too. You can watch all these shows on Woodlands Online and on our partner station KVQT HD21 over the air on your TV. These shows and more on Roku right now. Just searching at Woodlands Online TV to your streaming lineup. Now you can listen to our podcast versions of these shows. Don't do it while you're hungry on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Amazon. So for Mark and Brainy and Jen, I've been Kyle, and we'll be at Permanente Brothers. This has been Nerd News Now.